Xbox, Xbox. Man, we're going to talk about these layoffs. We're going to talk about the past couple years for Xbox. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, guys. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. What's going on, you guys? Gaming out of here. Coming at you with another video. First off, don't expect any fancy editing. You know, this is just a conversation between me and my community. Me and everyone on YouTube that so happen to come across this. I was always a big Xbox. I always wanted them to do better. I wanted them to compete better for a variety of reasons, but because I knew that the brand was capable of it. I knew it was. When it come to back when they had no studios, or when they bought Bethesda, or when they acquired that they're going to buy ABK, or when they officially bought ABK. I was always like very, very positive leaning when it come to the brand because I saw potential moves that could lead to it doing better. And that was like that for the longest time. I remember you could go back and you could see my videos on them buying Bethesda, on them buying ABK, on them buying Obsidian, on every studio. I was very vocal when it come to it. Look, I don't think consolidation is the issue. I think the way corporate, and especially in the West, and how it's structured, that's mainly the issue. Look, Xbox is always going to be a brand that's close to me. Xbox is always going to be a brand that I have played for a long time. I got 360 achievements, and that's just 360 achievements because they actually have dates that had me playing way back in the 2000s. I remember playing Halo 1 and Halo 2 with my friends. Like, I've been about this Xbox brand for a very long time. That's why it gets me on my nerves when, the viewers will attack me because I don't see, the direction that Xbox is going. So, we've been, and then that catches us up vaguely. There's a lot of stuff that's between now and then. Now we're going to talk about the layoffs. We've been hearing rumors for a long time in terms of the layoffs, that stuff was going down the pipeline, that we was going to see a sizable amount of people laid off throughout Microsoft. And a lot of them were coming from Xbox as well. And I can tell you from behind the scenes, a lot of Xbox influencers, a lot of, people on YouTube in general, were just like, preparing for the worst. What's going to happen Wednesday? Well, at first we thought this was going to be Monday. What's going to happen Monday? What's going down? Well, now we have officially gotten to Monday. Nothing happened. And Jason Schreier said Wednesday's the date. So we're at Wednesday. I'm asleep. My phone's being blown up. I look on the phone, and I went to bed like 3 or 4 hours before then, and my phone's like, "Oh, it's happening." I was like, "I'm gonna catch up on this when I wake up." So then, like 2 hours after that go by, my phone is being harassed, and I look up to like 15 missed phone calls, 10, 15 mixed messages, just a lot of stuff going down, and I'm like, "Oh, something clearly happened." So I come in here, sit down. Microsoft and Xbox has shut down the initiative. For those of you who don't know, back in, I think, 2018, maybe you guys can confirm in the chat, maybe it was 2019, I don't know. Microsoft bought a bunch of studios, Undead Labs, Ninja Theory, Compulsion, and Playground Games. And they made the initiative from the ground up for Perfect Dark. First person, a lot of people thought that this game should have been third person because to me it made sense. A lot of the industry loves third person over the shoulder type of experiences. And when you look at something like this, the game makes sense being more of like a Hitman, run and gun Hitman stealth type of game. But it ended up being first person. We saw some gameplay, and I'll probably put the gameplay in the background. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just loop the Perfect Dark and Everwild gameplay in the background, just so you guys could see something. So we saw it, and I will admit, you can go back and you can look at the reaction of Addict when he was seeing this. I looked at this and I said, yo, this looks good. This turned out to be the show of the game of the show. You know, just like, you know, one year it was, you know, South of Midnight. Really enjoyed what I saw that game. And just like, maybe it's because what they showed me for Perfect Dark ended up being way more than I was expecting, because I heard it was going to be first person, and I was a little disappointed with that. So I was like, okay, I can get down on this. Well, it turns out being reported, you know, take that what you will, you know, take those grain of salt, that all of that was a vertical slice. It shit didn't happen. I don't understand why. Now, okay, I can't say I don't understand. Developers do this because they're trying, but something like this, I would expect to be behind the scenes at like an investor meeting, or, you know, you're pitching your game. I don't understand why people make these vertical slices. That's not even the game. There's not even a build of the game. There's nothing. Apparently, the way the internet's talking, that it's being reported that was just made for the showcase. It wasn't cut out of the game. Now, obviously, grain of salt. We don't know. I want to be very clear on that. But if that is the case, why do companies do this? And this isn't just an Xbox thing. Everyone does this. Everyone does. I just don't understand that practice. Shouldn't do that. So we're sitting here looking at this and we're like, yo, this looking good. We in this house with this Perfect Dark. I actually felt like Perfect Dark was a very promising looking game. Very promising looking game. And now, wake up today. Sucker been closed. The sucker been canceled. The initiative's been closed down. Keep in mind, the studio has never shipped a game. And it was built from the ground up. And it had all these people being messed up that they had to bring Crystal Dynamics in to co-develop the game. And they're doing the bulk of the work. And I have no clue what's happening to Crystal Dynamics. But it's just like, man, the concept was good. You know, it kind of gave me like a Deus Ex, Human Mankind Divided, Human Revolution, Mankind Divided, 2 different games, my bad. It gave me kind of like a sense of that, but like a little bit more modern. I'm just disappointed, man. And then we found out Everwild was canceled. Look, as far as like me specifically, I didn't really... I kind of expected Everwild to get canceled, to be clear. Because Everwild was always one of those games that we saw like once or twice and we never saw again. So, you know, even though that it was still being reported that it was still in active development, it made sense because of what Rare did with Sea of Thieves. Even though at the beginning I didn't see the vision, and I've been very vocal to admitting that I was wrong, they had a hit with that game. And they did very well with that game. So I can understand giving them some extra leeway to figure out whatever WoW needs to be, because they could do it again because they did it once. So I can understand that. But when the game was officially canceled, I wasn't really surprised, because in my eyes, we ain't seen nothing on this game in a foreseeable way, and it makes sense why this game is canceled. Apparently, there's a new ZeniMax Online Studio IP canceled. I don't know if that... There's rumors back that there's a Mandalorian game in development through ZeniMax. I don't know if that's the game that was canceled, or, you know, if even the Mandalorian's even in development, because, you know, you guys know how these things go. Things are pitched, sometimes greenlit, and then sometimes canceled. The amount of stories I could tell you of people telling me games that no one even got knows about because they got greenlit and canned shortly after people told them it's a go. And stuff like that happens in the industry all the time. So that doesn't really surprise me. You know, then there's a lot of other people losing their jobs. Some studios getting hit harder than others. But Turn 10, I'm not a racing game. Forza Motorsports, especially Forza Motorsports. Now I could jump on Horizon a little bit better, but Motorsport, that's not really my kind of game. But I will acknowledge that that's an important game to a lot of people, and it's looking like they lost about 50% of their staff. They lost 50% of the developers working on that game. How many people was working at Turn 10 for Xbox? I don't know if that's even known. 100 to 200. So apparently 100 full-time staff in 2014 with an additional 100 to 200 contract workers. Now, that's in 2010. It's hard to tell what it is. I mean, 2014, maybe it was around the same. I don't know. Clearly, that shows that Forza Motorsports wasn't the successful means and expectations that Microsoft had intended for them. And some part of me feels like there is huge disconnect with projections and expectations on what the market is currently doing, what the market is capable of doing. I blame microtransactions, season passes, and games as a service particularly because I feel like when a game made 50 to 100 million profit after all the expenses, back in the day it used to be considered a W because you used to have multiple games doing this. So it led to what it is. But then when games as a service happened, and microtransactions particularly, maybe less the games as a service, but when microtransactions happened, what ended up happening is you had more money being made from the microtransactions in all these games than actually being made in general for the game itself. And I think what's happened there is it's padded the amount of money that it's making at all times to the point now where it's just unrealistic to do that. I mean, think about the past couple years, how much more predatory practices have been done to get you to spend money on like cosmetics and stuff in the store with microtransactions. And there's a reason for that doing it because they want to hit those quarterly earnings every quarter. They want that every quarter, and one of the best ways of doing it is microtransactions. It's the reason companies like PlayStation gambled everything for it, because in their mind, I'd rather risk 200-300 million with the hopes of getting something more into the future than not risk that and not have their own Fortnite. I've said this a lot of times in the past. Companies want to be Fortnite. Companies want GTA products. They want, Apex Legends products, but no one has those products. Those Cognito likes to call them the Sinister Six. Like the games that just take so much bandwidth it's impossible to compete with. Fortnite, GTA Online, Apex Legends, 2K, there's Minecraft, there's Roblox. These games make so much money off their microtransactions that how can you compete? When you have companies like PlayStation willing to bet it all to get one, and did it to the point where they overreached and they had to scale the whole company back because they spent so much money trying to do it. And this is happening in the industry tenfold. Trends is ruining the industry. Corporate greed is ruining the industry. Look, we're in a very, very volatile industry. The industry is the worst it's ever been in the entire time I've ever covered it. And the problem is you cannot have this type of, look, obviously money is important. Money is the root of all things. But there's not enough developers and not enough publishers mainly that are trying to make games to make money. There's not enough of them where they're trying to make good games that result in people buying them. And there's too many people trying to make money by making games. The passion's gone. The passion's been gone from the industry for a while. Now, we still have our enjoyment. We still have games that I absolutely love playing. But the industry's not in a good place. And it's not just an Xbox thing. It's an industry thing. And it's a lot of the West. Let's name, shout out to Maddie, got us a good little list. Let's name the things that's happened since the top of 2024 when it comes to Xbox. Blizzard Obsidian Odyssey getting canceled. Roundhouse Studios closing down. Alpha Dog Games closing down. That's 2 studios so far. We got Tangleworks pretty much going to another person, but they got closed down and then reopened. So I'm counting that. That's 3. We got Arcane Studio closing down. That's 4. Layoffs at Raven Studio. 10% of King is gone. We got 50% of Turn 10 being took down. Got canceled projects from ZeniMax. Canceled Everwild. And now the Initiative. And that's without Toy Box with Games going independent. They left the warehouse. It's not good, man. You know, and all this is happening ironically since they announced the new approach going multi-plat, which is wild to me. One would think if you're trying to go multi-plat, you're trying to open up the stables to sell on as many products and devices as possible. You need games to approach that. You need games to sell on as many projects in as many places as possible. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like they have a selective amount that's in their head that they want to sell. And if these other games are in development hell, they're kicking. Then obviously we don't know what was going on with Perfect Dark. You know, if it is true that game was an hallucination. Oh my God, I'm butchering it. You guys get what I'm saying? An illusion. Then clearly we wouldn't know how that game looked besides what they showed us if it wasn't that game. If that was just a vertical slice. There might have been complete valid reasons. And I do think there were valid reasons. I don't think Microsoft would have shut that down because they knew, all the other games that all the other studios they could have shut down. They shut down the one that didn't even release the game, the one that looked the best. So clearly what they were having behind closed doors was not even close to what they were going to ship. So maybe it is best that, the game got canceled. Maybe not the studio being shut down. But it's just like, if you're going to sell to many more platforms, then I don't get it. I will say that when you're no longer having hardware to worry about, some things get greenlit just because they need games from this. Some games go through the process knowing that they're not going to make money, and they're going to use the money that they make off of this thing to offset it because they need exclusives for this to matter. Now, I'm not saying that that's the reason all these games are getting canceled because they're no longer having, loose change or money extra because they don't have a reason for it anymore. I'm just saying that ever since this new direction, it is ironic and it is interesting that so many games are getting canceled. So many studios are getting shut down. As in my personal opinion, they want to take it with like the Iron Gauntlet approach. Like, we want to sell you the games that we know is going to sell. Point blank, period. And I'm going to be very clear. No one should be defending this. No one. You should not in any way, shape, or form be trying to defend Xbox for what is going on today. It is ridiculous. It is one of the biggest issues I have in this industry. And I've been very clear that I'm not for this because I see signs like this happening. There's also things happening that I can't really talk about that don't even involve these studios and stuff, that involve more of the content creation part that I've noticed on my end. That's interesting. That makes me even continue to push the narrative that this new direction is one of the main reasons that they're doing this. Clearly it is, because they wasn't doing this until they decided to change the whole structure of the company and go a different direction. But anyway, put in the comment section below. First off, you guys can call me doom and gloom all you want. You can go in on me all you want. You can summon me to as many places as you want. You can attack me at every corner. I'm always going to speak for what I believe is right. And I'm always very clear that it's just my opinion. Nothing about what my mindset thinks and screams I'm right. It's just at that time, I believed it's the right move. Now, might not be the way. But I will say ever since I've been on this, Nothing but negative news, man. Nothing but negative news. I don't know. I just, once again, when it comes to the industry, if you're consistently laying off the people that make the games, you're consistently, there is literally someone on Twitter that was just laid off, and he quote tweeted when he was laid off in 2024. That man had a year of employment. If he's not looking at another industry to go into, that's love. And the problem is corporate structure is taking advantage of that love of games that we have of games, that developers have of games, and they're running with it. Because I don't blame any developer looking at any other industry thinking about leaving, because look how they're being treated. Gamers are treated horribly too. Anything to make a buck. But anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm very curious your guys' opinion on this. Want to, thank you guys for watching this 21-minute video. Jeez. But I appreciate everyone coming through. This has been a bad day, man. Bad day. And we knew it was coming. But seeing how bad it was is disappointing, to say the least. This is Addict. Have a good one.